Thank you all for sticking around. I think you're going to be pleased you did. As I said this morning, this is going to be a fun time. But before we go on with Brandon, I want to call up Nick Gates and Mariah Murphy to present the winner of the $1,000. See who did their homework.
Hello again, everybody. This is Nick Gates, our partner with Teladoc. You all heard from me this morning, and I just wanted to introduce Nick. He's going to pull out a winner for $1,000 from all of you who turned in a card and made a visit to all the sponsors today.
Yeah, so I'd be remiss to not take this opportunity just to tell you a little bit about Teladoc. So our number one core value is that we're passionate about taking care of people. And I'm sure you guys can all relate because I'm sure you're passionate about taking care of your staff. And for those of you that haven't reviewed our program with Healthiest You, the $1,000 that we're giving away right now, that could pay for health care not only for 9 of your employees, but their entire spouse and families for an entire year. So just food for thought. So if anybody hasn't looked at our program, take a look. But today's winner is Misty Ray.
Misty Ray.
Misty Ray.
We know Misty. There she is.
Awesome.
Come on
awesome.
up.
Come on up. Come on up.
Awesome.
That's right.
You don't have to give a speech. We can just come right.
And the Oscar
You want to take a picture up here?
Oh, there should be.
No, there's no filter. With the CFO
Good job. All right. I got to do a wardrobe change. Get myself ready here. So, I'm really pleased to introduce the next speaker, Brandon Landry. I've known Brandon for a long time. I've had the good fortune of working with him and Scott Taylor for quite a few years. And I have a long description of his background, but he's going to tell you his story in a little bit. But does everyone know what a walk-on is? Okay? Good. Someone bobbing heads. And this is someone who has not been drafted, recruited in any way, shape, or form. They just sort of show up and say, I think I'm good enough to play when you give me a tryout. That takes some courage. And I've known Brandon for a long time. I met him as a much younger man than he is now, before he was married. And he exemplifies that spirit of tenacity and the willingness to go out and do something special. I said yesterday that this is an industry that really cares about people and gives back. Brandon embodies that probably better than most people that I've ever met in this industry. He's got an amazing culture, and I can't wait to hear his story. So, in fact, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Brandon, why don't you come on up here? He's going to do a presentation for a few minutes to give you a background on walk-ons, and then we're going to sit down and have a little quasi-fireside chat. Come on, Brandon.
It is. We're going to have a good shift. Make some noise! Hoo-wee! Hoo-wee! What do we do? What do we do? 1, 2, 3! 1, 2, 3!
Microphone?
There I am. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, that's actually our rumble that we do pre-shift twice a day. All of our teams throughout the country, they rumble, and I'll get into where that came from a few years back, but it's part of our culture, and you can see why that we do the things that we do. So I'm Brandon Landry. I'm the founder and CEO of Walk-On's Sports Bistreaux, based out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Like Fred just mentioned, what's a walk-on? A walk-on is that athlete that's really trying to make the team. They don't get awarded a scholarship. They don't get their room and board and everything paid for. You play for the true love of the game. I was a walk-on the LSU basketball team. They have to dig deep in the archives to find some pictures of me playing. So we got 2 or 3. You probably see everyone today. But it's that true embodiment of a teammate. And look, I knew I wasn't going to play against Kentucky and Rupp Arena when we went up there in college. But I also knew that my contribution on the team that week, preparing our team, running scout teams, getting our team ready to play Kentucky, was just as important as being a star player on that team. And that's the philosophy and the teamwork that we built into our business today. So it literally started on a napkin. I was a junior at the time. This was 1999. We played Tennessee in the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And we were literally on the way back from the game, and all the starters were sleeping. As you can see there, we didn't play a very good game. We only got beat by 30-something. But all the starters were sleeping, and we were wide awake because we didn't play a second. And it came to us. We didn't come from a restaurant background. I was a son of a sugarcane farmer in South Louisiana. My teammate, my walk-on partner at the time, he didn't come from a restaurant background either. And so we literally started doodling on that bev nap. And we went back to LSU and we said, you know what? This may be an opportunity. We were in an entrepreneurship class, and we said, let's do our walk-ons project in this class. It was a business plan. We did it. Man, we thought we had a really good idea. We put this business plan together. We got a C. Wasn't necessarily because of the idea, but don't laugh too hard, okay? It wasn't necessarily because of the idea. We just needed some help with the business plan. So, look, that walk-on mentality kicked in at an early age. And we said, let's keep trying. Let's never give her up. And so we started going to banks. We had this great idea, right? We were 20 and 21 years old at the time. Every kid like that has a dream. Let's open up a sports bar. So we started going to banks, and every one of them said, yeah, guys, we love it, but no. And look, this is in early 2000s, not long after 9/11. If you guys remember those days, if you had a pulse and you could sign your name, you were getting a loan because they wanted to get the economy stimulated again. Not us. Restaurant business is risky in itself, as we all know, and we didn't have a whole lot of experience. And so, once again, that walk-on mentality kicked in, and we said, let's not give up. Let's keep trying. We went to number 7, and we sat there with a local banker out of Lafayette, Louisiana, and he said, guys, I love it. He goes, if you're willing to bust your tail, we'll back you. We said, what does that mean, sir? He said, it means you got a lot of debt at an early age. Good luck. Make sure you pay the note. And we said, okay, we can handle that. You don't know what you don't know at that age, right? But that walk-on mentality, never give up, just proved to us right there that we were doing it the right way. And so Walk-Ons was born. The original location was born September 9th. We're almost 18 years old, 2003, at the shadows of Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. My founding partner, Jack Warner, and myself, it was supposed to be one restaurant. We were trying to open up one restaurant and hopefully make a living. 22, 23 years old at the time, said, it's a sports bar, right? Let's have cold beer, hot chicks, and maybe some TVs on the wall, and it'll work. Not the way to go in the restaurant business. Actually, on the original napkin, we forgot to draw the kitchen. Rule 101 in restaurants, draw a kitchen if you want to serve food. And so that just showed you where our mind was at late teens, early 20s, and saying, we can do this. Yeah, we'll just figure it out. We got the doors open in 2003, and I'll be the first to admit, we were not good. We weren't good at the systems, we didn't have any systems. We didn't have any processes. We didn't buy a franchise, which we're selling today. We didn't buy everything that comes with the intellectual property and making sure that we were doing it the right way. It was a lot of throw it against the wall, hopefully it sticks. And that's not the way to get into it. And so after a few years, we really had to look at ourselves and answer a few questions. Do we want to be that prototypical sports bar? Nothing against anyone that has that prototypical sports bar, but we didn't want to be that. Do we want to just be a place that you come in, you watch a game, you drink a beer. If you get really hungry, you might order some freezer to fryer food. And the answer to that was no. After we decided that that wasn't the way we wanted to go, what is going to separate us from the rest of the pack? And so there was a few things that we had to look at. The first of all was the food, right? And like I just mentioned, we were going down that road of being that prototypical sports bar. So we had a defining moment in our company's history, and it was literally a burial ceremony. It's not like we told our kitchen at the time and said, hey, go burn some burgers or overcook some pasta or do some things really bad. No, it was the stuff that we were selling at the time. We said, let's just go grab it off the line. We went behind our original location, and we dug a hole. We made a tombstone, and we said, today, this is changing. It was a statement, right? It was a statement to our team, but it was also a statement to ourselves that we weren't going to live this way anymore when it comes to our food and our consistency. What else is going to separate us? And this is the biggest thing, and this is the thing we're going to talk about today, is our culture and embracing that underdog mindset and celebrating the heart of a walk-on. Underdog mindset, let's talk about that. Everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, at some point in your life, you've been an underdog, right? Either you got passed up for a job opportunity, either you weren't a part of a social group that you wanted to be a part of, maybe you didn't make a team in high school that you wanted to be a part of, maybe you wanted to be a part of the band and you weren't good enough. Those are the underdogs. And not to say that we have to sit here and embrace and say, I want to be an underdog, but have that underdog mindset. Because when you have the underdog mindset, you push a little bit harder. That's what a walk-on does. Once again, I knew I wasn't going to play. I played 7 minutes my senior year. If you guys didn't know anything about basketball, there's 40 minutes in every damn game. 7 minutes is not a lot. But I do it 100 times over because everything that I learned about being a part of a team, being a part of something bigger than myself, we've carried over in our business philosophy today. And so celebrating that and celebrating the heart of a walk-on, which I'll get into here in a second, is what really put the walls up for our company. We knew we had to build lasting relationships. I think he talked about it this morning. You can sit here and say, yeah, I want to develop relationships, but do you really? You got to look at yourself in the mirror if you want to establish this type of culture and decide, do you really want to establish long-lasting relationships? That's a picture of one of our very first dishwashers, Willie, at our original location almost 20 years ago. I got to know that guy. I got to know his family. I got to know what drove him. What did he want to do? That's important. And so developing these lasting relationships was a key part of where we got to today. I say this all the time, and if there's anything you take away from this today, and when you're talking about labor and hiring problems and all the things that we struggle with in our industry, take this, because I'm a living example of it. Your team doesn't care how much you know, they care how much you care. You can come in with 25 years of experience, and I've run this, and I've done this. I didn't know a damn thing at 23 years old. But every one of those kids that were part of our team, they knew I cared for them. And today, as we have 56 open locations throughout the country and almost 200 on development map, everyone knows, from our franchise partners here in South Florida to our people in our corporate office, all the way to every dishwasher that I walk, any restaurant in the country, they know we care. And that's the difference of where we are. After we defined who we were and what we wanted to be, we decided to grow a little bit. This is a big step, right? And so, we had one location. Everybody said, yeah, you're just a one location type of concept. It's going to be right there in Baton Rouge. It's going to be LSU things, and you're not going to really be able to grow. We went to Lafayette, Louisiana, Cajun capital of the country. Then a year later, we go to New Orleans, quote unquote, the culinary capital of the country, 2 blocks from the Superdome. We won Best New Restaurant in New Orleans as we started elevating our food. And then we took our culture to a new level. Back to the food piece, we talked about, look, we're from South Louisiana. Most people around the world, they eat to live. In Louisiana, you live to eat. And so you better have damn good food. And so we took that to another level. We went into New Orleans, into the old Smith & Wollensky's that never opened back up after Hurricane Katrina. And in October of 2012, we were nominated for ESPN's #1 sports bar. We ended up winning that. We were one of 5,200 restaurants throughout the country that was nominated for that. They talked about why we won and a few things that separated us from the rest of the pack out there. We're a sports bar that had a taste of Louisiana. We don't categorize ourselves as a quote-unquote Cajun restaurant, but you can come in and get some duck and andouille gumbo, or fresh seafood, or a crawfish etouffee, or some boudin balls. This is about 30% of our menu, but it was a point of differentiation for us as we were growing. Family-friendly sports bar. This was a part of our that we thought was important for us because it was a time when we were starting to grow where restaurants were the big thing. And we had to make sure that we didn't want to be in that category. And we had to make sure that we were completely different than those guys. Yes, of course, we can have, young people working for us and all, but we wanted to make sure that it was okay that women like sports too, right? Kids like sports too. They love good food. They love Louisiana cuisine. Why can't it be a place for everyone? So we spent a lot of time making sure that we were family friendly. And the last thing and the most important that we got credit for from winning this award was our WOW, and we call it our Walk-On's Way. It's how we live each and every day. We're more than a restaurant. We try to be more than a restaurant to our team that walks in our doors every day and to our communities that we're hopefully impacting positively in every community that we're serving in. We started clearly defining our purpose, our vision, and our mission. When you talk about brands out there that don't have that solid foundation, and look, I'm willing to show everyone up here what we do and why we do it, because if it's important to you, you'll dig in and do it for yourselves. But it's not like, oh, you can go steal walk-on stuff, because it takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort. So when we started digging into our purpose, it was pretty simple. This was something that Jack and I talked about since we were 19 years old. Our why from day one was just to bring people together. We wanted to bring our teams together. We wanted to bring families together. We wanted to bring a new team together where we open up a new restaurant with 150 to 200 new team members that don't know each other from Adam. And then in a week's time, when training's almost wrapped up, they're all hugging, they're kissing, they're loving each other, and they've developed a new family. And so that's what we're doing, and especially in communities to our guests. Our guests see an opportunity to bring people together as we go in there. So that was our why from the very get-go. Our vision has kind of evolved over the years, working with Fred throughout the years. That vision is what you aspire to be. And at times in your career and in your life cycle of your restaurants or hotels or whatever it may be, your vision, sometimes it changes because you have a new goal or you have a new aspiration. For us, we didn't want to have anything that was like, oh, let's be the best sports bar or let's be the highest volume place. No, we wanted to go back to our roots and our foundation. Be more than a restaurant. Inspire a lifestyle that embraces the underdog mindset in all of us. If we can do that in our restaurants, in our communities, each and every day, we know we can make a difference. We're talking about hiring now. We're talking about staffing problems. TJ mentioned this morning, people don't leave you over dollars. You might think they do. They want a little bit of this. They just want to feel like they're recognized. They want to see an opportunity to grow. They want to feel like they're part of a family. And for us, we want to build that lifestyle. You talked about Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has that lifestyle. Whether you want to admit it or not, when you go there, those kids are proud to wear that logo as they go out, even away from work. That's what we're striving for. That's where we're getting. And then our mission is how we do it. When you're talking about the why, the what, and then the how is arguably the most important part, because you have to have a plan, you have to have a system to be able to implement it. And we just build that culture that energizes and celebrates the heart of a walk-on. I talk about the heart of a walk-on a lot, and this is defined in our core values and our guiding principles. And these aren't Webster Dictionary explanations of each category here, but it's kind of the way we see it and the way we can articulate it to our team. Build relationships, develop connections with others that last. Once again, are you really interested in building relationships with your team? I won't go through them all. Play for the team. Be encouraging. Own your role. Aim for progress, not perfection. These are things that being a walk-on and understanding where my role was and what we aspire to be, this is what we talked about each and every day. And then, of course, our core values. And this is really the building blocks of what we built in our company and how we're growing it the right way. Live with integrity. Once again, not Webster Dictionary. I work and play with uncompromised honesty. Extend empathy. I put the needs of the team and guests before my own. Embody humility. I learn and grow from my mistakes. Always hustle. I give relentless effort in my role for the betterment of the team. Display grit. I persist until I overcome any adversity. And then I create trust. This is the most important. That's why we put it last. I show that I care in all that I do. I go back to that statement I said earlier. Your team doesn't care how much you know. They care how much you care. If we live by these, We have our wild cards. I don't go anywhere without it. This one's all beat up and everything because I don't go. This says everything, our core values, our guiding principles, our company promises, everything that we hope to be in a walk-ons is in our back pocket, and we refer to them often. By defining our walk-ons way, we started attracting people to our team. We started attracting investors like Drew Brees. Drew's our partner and our parent company today. Then we decided to launch our franchise model in 2015. We had three restaurants at the time, 3 corporately owned restaurants, but they started noticing that we were doing something a little bit different. Once again, we had beautiful buildings. We had the cuisine that I talked about, but also they started noticing, man, when we come in these restaurants, people are happy. They're happy to be there. There's kids in there. There's families in there. It's just something a little bit different. And then for us, launching a franchise model, sometimes you hear the horror stories, right? Oh, you're going to lose your way. It's not going to be what you designed it to be from the get-go. But for us, we went at this at a little bit different angle. It wasn't, let's go, 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 sell, 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 open, open, open. It was, let's find the right people that align with us. You can have the biggest checkbook in the world, and that's great. And we offended a few guys in the beginning, I'll be honest with you, because they came with big checkbooks and showed us their balance sheets and all this, and we did a little research on them or what business they were in before, or just the conversations from the very get-go. We could tell that it wasn't going down the road that we wanted to go to. And so Dak Prescott here in the picture, I mean, he's a franchise partner in Dallas-Fort Worth. Actually, there's a great article about to come out in Sports Illustrated about his underdog story. You know, you think the guy just made $160 million. There's nothing underdog about that. Wait till you read this article. And you talk about alignment with us. Drew, the same way. Texas boy, wanted to go play football in Texas. Nobody recruited him. Shame on the Texas schools now, right? But, you know, that's his underdog story. Then he gets hurt. Nobody wanted him. The Dolphins passed him up. He was stuck in New Orleans. Literally. That was the only team that wanted him. An underdog. Everybody had written him off. He's got almost every record in the book. Well, if Brady keeps living and playing, he may lose them all. But today, he's got most of them. But, you know, it's just finding a family that wanted to grow with us the right way. So where we are today, we're 56 locations. We'll open up number 57 here in Florida in Kissimmee next week. We're across 10 states. We're actually closer to 200 in development. Once again, it's not like we're out there trying to sell, open. We find like we're a brand that's going to open 20, 25, maybe 30 restaurants a year. This year we'll be right at 20. Since the pandemic, where most restaurant brands are either closing restaurants or not growing at all, I think we've opened 24 restaurants to date since March of last year. Our franchise partners are still growing, and we've got same-store sales up year over year, even from 2019. Being more than a restaurant, the things that we're doing, being a part of the community, positively impacting every teammate that we have and every community that we're a part of. We don't just go there. We're not just trying to be the next chain that just hangs up the sign and says, hey, come eat with us. And yeah, maybe we'll do an outfield billboard sign. No, we're going to go feed the teams. We're going to go feed the schools. We're going to be a part. We stick back to where we came from. Yeah, we have a larger marketing budget now, but back in 2003, the only thing we had was, hey, man, we can bring you some food and hope you like it. We hadn't gotten away from that. And those are the things, and your team reacts to that when they see that and they say, look, these guys just aren't all talk. We're not just the company that's going, here's the employee of the month, we're going to hang the picture up. No. Employee of the month, man, that's bullshit. It really is. I mean, unless you're doing something with it. Are you really doing something with it? Like, we have recognition. We're going to make sure that we're recognizing them in front of their peers and letting them know what they did and why they did it. If you just go take a picture and hang it up on the wall and say, yeah, that's the employee of the month, probably it's going to fade away in 3 or 4 months anyway. And then guess what? You just lost all trust that you had hopefully built by rolling out the employee of the month program in your restaurant or your hotel. Company promise. This is where we have to build the trust of our team and our guests. Our promise is pretty simple. Walk-Ons creates an environment that fosters growth and belonging for all. So every team member, day one, at orientation, They read this and they hold us accountable to this. Is it really a place that we're going to foster growth and belonging for all, where the team is bigger than the individual, where we exceed expectations and positively impact every community we serve? This is an internal and an external message. It's internal because we want our team to hold us accountable to everything that we say here, but externally as well because we want the community and the guests that are going to come patronize us, hopefully for a long time, that they call us out on this if we're not living this way. It's huge for us. Listen, like I mentioned earlier, we all have an underdog story. Sometimes it just dig down deep and finding out what got you past it, or what that mindset that was instilled in you when you were the underdog to make you get to the next level. Look, I'm not this seasoned restaurant CEO. I learned a lot over the last 19 years. I'm not going to sit up here and say that these are the systems and these are the processes and all. I just care. And I take my team background of being a walk-on, and once again, I was the 12th guy out of 12 players on that bench. But I'd do anything in the world for that team because I knew I could make the team better. That's how we live. I truly believe my life's calling is to inspire and build these teams and celebrate these underdog moments. We just rolled out our NIL program. You guys are known with the name, image, and likeness. And we're not going out and signing big deals with big athletes. You know what we're doing? Every week, we're going to announce a new walk-on that's going to be part of our family of athletes. We just announced our first one yesterday, a kid from the University of Arkansas. He sent us a video. They're all telling us their stories. We launched it a week ago. We've probably got over 250 stories of these kids that are walk-ons that are working 2 and 3 jobs. But they just, hey man, I feel you. I want to do something great in my life. And I guarantee you, most of these walk-ons will be successful because of the adversity and what they're facing today. It's really cool to be a part of this. Thank you guys for having me. I know Fred and I are going to do a few Q&A here, but I just kind of wanted to tell you my story and where we've come from.
All right. There's some water down there for you.
Yeah, thank you.
You want to turn your chair a little bit?
Yep.
I told you it was worth coming here for this, all right? So let me tell you, I've had the privilege of working with Brandon and his team for quite a few years now. It's getting close to 10 years. I did get this hat on one of my visits. They actually gave it. I didn't steal it, but...
Look, you can wear that all the time. Everybody's going to think you have hair.
That's true. That's true.
We both get the benefit of this.
That's right. That's my underdog story. All right. So I do want to read one thing that was not in the thing because and I have a motto card as well. So the teammate promise is I put the needs of my team before my own and play with integrity. I persist to overcome adversity and learn from my mistakes. I embrace my role for the betterment of the team. In everything that I do and everyone that I impact, I care. There's not a single company in this room that could not benefit if every employee practiced this. That's what we want. And what I'll tell you is that, and let me ask you, do you have a staffing problem right now?
Not really. Look, and we have some of our franchises in South Florida here right now. Look, I'm not going to say there's none, right? But we feel like we're in a really good spot just because of the culture that we've created. People aren't leaving us over dollars.
Exactly, and this is true. I mean, when I go into their corporate office, the first corporate office I went to was in downtown, so it was this tiny little place. Now he's got this thing with a basketball court, and it's pretty damn cool. And a full bar, I might add. It's happy hour every day. At least when I was there, it was happy hour.
Once again, South Louisiana, we better have a bar.
Is that there is an energy and a light in the eyes of the people that work in this company that I rarely see. I work with a lot of restaurant companies all over this country, and there's maybe 3 or 4 that match the kind of culture that Brandon's built over here with all the other people there, because everyone feels they contribute. And you were talking about this. So you started as a walk-on. You drew that little napkin with no kitchen. How have you evolved your brand, and what made you helped you sort of find the way to make the brand better?
Yeah, well, I think. Once again, opening at 23 years old, you don't know what you don't know. And I like to say often that the brand and our concept has definitely grown and matured with me. But the main thing, and I touched on it there, is like I realized that how much people will follow you and do anything in the world for you if you just show them that you care. And look, all the things that we do behind the scenes, and it's the old saying, and invest in the root and you'll get the fruit. A lot of people don't do that because it's not easily quantifiable. It really isn't. And a lot of people say, yeah, I want a great culture, and they go hire a consultant, nothing against you. They go hire a consultant, and they come up with this whiteboard session and say, yeah, we're going to live that way. But it's not authentic. It's not what they really believe, and that's what they really do. So you know what it becomes? It becomes a marketing campaign, and it actually backfires on you because you didn't truly believe it. All this that we talk about, it's not even Brandon sitting in a room and said, this is teammates of ours that have been with us 10, 15, 18 years that are sitting there and said, look, no, this is who we are. This is what we've always been. And then we have this opportunity, being very authentic, being a walk-on, knowing what it took, that we can live that. And so we've just taken it to another level and just, once again, show our teams that it's simple things. Like I do cup of, it's crazy how this has come out. Every Friday morning, if I'm in town, I pick one of my teammates in the office and we go have a cup of coffee. We can talk walk-ons if they want, but mainly we can talk family, we can talk their kids' soccer team, and we actually do it at Waffle House, and we have a cup of coffee, and now we call it our cup of culture, and it's become a thing, and they can't wait to sit there, because look, we're all going, and you guys that are growing big concepts and restaurants, and you're all over the place, it's amazing what that hour, that cup of coffee will turn into. And now I learned that one of our teammates the other day, her parents started a church about 2 weeks before the pandemic, and they've been struggling really hard. They're both pastors, and she has a passion for that one day, and she wants to get to that. And so how can I help her, right? Because I know at the end of the day, she's going to do anything in the world for walk-ons, but the greatest gift that I can give is, how can I help her? And so it's little things like that, and then when it starts to trickle down into the restaurants, like we can say this all day, and you guys that are in your corporate office, you can come up with a great idea. If it doesn't trickle down to the restaurants or the hotels, throw away the damn paper you wrote it on. Right. It has to be an investment. It has to be, once again, invest in the root. The fruit will come. It'll bear over time. But don't look at it as a quick ROI. You can't look at, like you and I were talking earlier. It takes years. It takes time. Chick-fil-A was a $3 million AUV in 2001. I talked to one of their execs the other day. They're going to do $8 million AUVs this year. They didn't change the damn chicken. Everything's still the same. They keep investing in their culture, the language, little things like my pleasure. Dan and Kathy went to a conference, a Chick-fil-A conference in 2000 or something like that, and he had gone to a Ritz-Carlton. I don't know if you guys have heard their story. He went to a Ritz-Carlton, and one of the bell guys, he said, thank you, and the bell guy goes, oh, it's my pleasure. And he looked at him, and he goes, wow, that was heartfelt. He looked at him in the eye, and he goes, so he went back to the conference and said, look, guys, I want to start using, instead of you're welcome, I want to start using my pleasure. Well, fast forward another year, conference in 2002. He's like, guys, I really want to start using my pleasure. And they're like, yeah, kind of. 2003, I think his son came up there. He's like, look, Dad's not going to stop with this. We have to. And now, what's probably the most noticeable phrase in the service industry? He believed in it. He stuck with it. And it's part of their culture now.
I got to share a story. So one of the many trips I've taken to Baton Rouge, and it's hot down there, by the way. It's hot here, but it's hot down there, too. To some people. Before we're going to get started, Brandon says, come on, let's get in my car. We got to go do something. So we drive out, and walk-ons had funded a brand new basketball court. Do you remember that day? And it was a hot, blazing, sunny day, and 24 African-American young kids, 9, 12 years old, through that range, came out there to get this basketball court for them that you guys had built. Yeah. And you've always given back to the community. He's like a hero in Baton Rouge. Between you and Todd Graves, yeah. You guys have made Baton Rouge really what it is. But so talk a little bit about what you do in the community.
Yeah, so our Game On Foundation, that was something that I'm passionate about as well, and it had to be authentic. It's not like, well, let's just go find a charity that, no. So our Game On Foundation rebuilds, refurbishes youth sports facilities. And yeah, sometimes you're like, man, I don't have time to do a foundation or a charity or anything. That's the best marketing you can do. And we don't do it because of marketing. We do it because we truly believe that positively impacting every community we serve, that's our promise. And it just happens to be through a foundation. And so we've built a handful of basketball courts and provided equipment for it. And guys like Drew and Dak, I mean, you talk about passionate about things like that. When the pandemic happened, we didn't have a whole lot of dollars, coming in. And honestly, for us, we sat down as a team, Scott Taylor, our president here, and we looked at each other and said, look, when times are good, companies can do really good things, right? The key to a great company is when times go a little bit south and you're hit with a little adversity, what are you doing at that point? And so we looked at ourselves and we said, look, the first thing we're going to do, we told all our franchisees out there, we said, we're suspending royalties. Even if you have a few dollars coming in right now, and it may be just a few dollars that we would be taking out for royalties, take care of your team. Those people need it. Take care of the team, take care of the community. The second thing that we did, we took our Game On Foundation, we turned it into Furlough Kitchen. And so I think 14 of our franchise partners throughout the country, we just started feeding furloughed hospitality workers. Not just walk-ons teammates, it was anyone that had got furloughed. We fed over, 50,000 meals throughout a 10-month span. And once again, did we do it for marketing? No, but it comes back tenfold when the restaurants got back open, and that's why we're up double-digit sales this year over 2019 because of things like that in times of adversity, doing it the right way.
Yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic story, and I'm aware of so much of this. I'm glad I'm able to have this be shared. Look, it's easy to come up on a stage and look like you got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, look at this, I want to be just like that. But I know better because I've been part of that growth over these years. What were some of your most challenging moments? You had to really sort of stop, look in the mirror and go, what in God's name is going on here? What am I going to do next?
Yeah, I mean, look, a founding partner, right? I think probably a majority of you guys have had or have partners. It's a marriage. And 10 years in, we had two different visions. And it was time, so that was tough. So we ended up buying my founding partner out in 2014, almost 8 years ago. Challenging time, tough time for me, just knowing I knew it was for the right reasons, but once again, you're kind of breaking up, right? And so that was big. Growth, deciding to grow is one decision. Having the funds and infrastructure and things, and there were some sleepless nights as we decided to grow. It's like, okay, well, yeah, the sales are there, but we don't have enough money to pay our people, so some soul searching in those times. And then, and we've all experienced this in the last 16 to 18 months, is just what our industry's gone through with the pandemic. And, for us, man, there was no mentor, there was no class that I took at LSU. There was no like, oh, let me go back to the book. When the global pandemic happened in the 80s, they did this. No, none of that was there. And so for us, it was over-communicate. Let's take it to a new level, especially in the times that the country was dealing with and is still dealing with. Anytime there's a void in communication, people fill it with negativity. And so for us, it was, let's over-communicate. Scott Taylor, our president, did an unbelievable job sending out 2 emails a day. Let's get on the calls with all our franchise just to let them know, look, we don't know what the hell's going to happen next week, but we're here for you today. And listening to podcasts and doing some soul searching. I actually heard a Navy SEAL talk about Chad Wright. He's on John Gordon's podcast, unbelievable. He talked about Hell Week and how it related to the pandemic. That Hell Week, if you go in there and you say, okay, it's Monday, I got to get to Saturday, you're gone pecan, man. There's no way. He said, you got to wake up in the morning when they wake you up at like 4 a.m. and say, I just got to get to breakfast. At breakfast, when he's eating, he goes, man, I just want to make it to lunch. It's just, and honestly, that's the way we lived in our world. It was Monday. We said, man, the world may change again in 2 days. Let's reconvene on Wednesday. and figure out what's going on. And that's
And it's still happening now.
it's still happening now.
I heard a great thing that said, make a list of everything you have to do and just change one word. Say, I get to do this.
Get to do it, yeah.
I get to do this. It's a subtle shift, but boy, it's really powerful. There was a panel yesterday. Dr. Melissa Hughes spoke at it. She did one today as well. And she showed a picture of a glass half full, another one a glass half empty. Same glass, right? But it's what's your view of it? And then, one was the glass is half empty is sort of the pessimistic attitude, fixed mind state. Glass is half full, abundant mentality. But then the other side of it was you got to be realistic about it. Yeah. And Brandon has always had a very, you can tell he just oozes optimism, but he's a realist about this is important. This is a serious thing. And when I talk about these other companies that I work with that have culture similar, all of them did similar things to what Brandon did in a different way, where they started feeding people or feeding their employees, letting them come in and get groceries, so to speak, out of the restaurant's stock. I remember one CEO asking me about, I've got money, but if I give it all to them, what do I do after that? And I said, preserve what you can to reopen, but do what you can now in that context. And that's how Brandon has lived in that regard. An interesting thing happened in the middle of the pandemic. I got a call from Scott Taylor. You guys remember Black Lives Matter? Okay, you saw where all his restaurants are at, right? What percentage of your employees and franchise employees are African American?
Over 50.
Yeah, big percentage. And Scott was like, we want to do something, because he realized, and this is an example of the philosophy of the whole company, they looked in the mirror and said, wow, we are literally blind to this. We have no awareness of what this is. And they asked me to help bring in someone to do a diversity council. Yeah. And it was fascinating to be, and this diversity council was a manager and a bunch of employees, Asians, Latinos, African Americans, Caucasians, a whole mixture. And we spent 2 days with them and walking through what they were going to present to Brandon and Scott as their recommendation to the company for how they could improve inclusiveness and diversity and so forth and so on. And they came in and listened to them. And these kids did a great job. They did really, really good work on it. And it was ironic because they voted their own leader, and it was a white woman, yeah. Not a minority, but they felt she was the best representative of their group. But they selected her. And then, more importantly, you guys listened. Yeah. What changed as a result of that diversity council?
Well, I think I'll go back to why we did it. It starts with your why, right? And that's why you have to clearly define that, because our why, like I talked about a lot, our purpose is to bring people together. It's not just to bring them in restaurants to eat, it's to bring people together. And so if you don't think that fit perfectly what was going on in the world, and so we looked at it and said, yeah, we can do like every other company's doing out there, posting their little black screen and hiding behind it and say, okay, I did my part. No, you didn't. You hid behind a freaking black screen just because that's what everyone told you should do. We went out and did exactly what you said. Let's make a change. Let's hear what's going on. How can we help our teammates? What do they know that we need to know? Those are the little things. You talk about change. I mean, and so at first we had teammates across the country like, why didn't walk-ons posting anything? And we were trying to educate our management, our restaurants around the country. It's like, listen, tell them this is what's coming. And they were like, oh, wow, that's awesome. We're closer now than we've ever been. We didn't post the black screen. That wasn't us. We went and did something.
Yeah, oh, exactly. You also had another incident around that same time. Poor Drew got ambushed a little bit when he was being interviewed. Yeah. And that had ramifications for you as well.
It did. And once again, we
explain what happened, because maybe.
Yeah. So Drew, of course, he got caught off guard in an interview that was supposed to be Yahoo Finance. And, Drew's one of the, I'll tell this to everyone here in this room, as good as a football player he is, he's the best human being you'll ever meet. And it was unfair, and he caught him with a statement about kneeling and things like that, and before football games, and they posted the interview. This is how clickbait works, right? They posted the interview, which was like 16 minutes, and they got like 100 reshares or whatever it is like that. And then one of their guys like, oh, we got to make this a bigger deal, where they made the title, Drew Brees is not kneeling. I can't remember that, but it made it to where everyone clicked. Then it became millions, and he was put on the guillotine, which wasn't fair. But look, things happen to people for a reason, and things happen to people that can handle it, and he handled it with grace, and he was kind of put, and, people were coming at him, and, once again, there's no PR class that you can take for what was going on in the country right there, and of course, we get roped into it with the restaurants, and look, we went in and we didn't hide. We were like, look, let's get back to our purpose. This is our why. What can we do out there? They had some standouts at some of the restaurants. Our franchisee went there and said, look, I understand you're upset, but let's really talk about what was said and how we're going to get past. He sat in one of our restaurants in Arlington, Texas, and prayed with the people. At the end of the day, they became raving fans.
Right.
So it's things like that. And once again, don't hide from things. Just acknowledge them.
And this is an example of what I've seen in walk-ons culture the whole time. They face it head on. It's not been an easy. There's been a lot of bumps that have continued over the years. I was also honored to have been asked to help them start their franchise advisory council.
Yeah.
And again, the voice of the franchisee is important. When you're a franchisor, you have true partners when you have franchisees and not an employee. And there may not be agreement, but there's a respect and listening to there. Who have been some of your best mentors?
A few. I mean, I'll say you, man. And I'm not saying this because you're up here on stage, but we've worked together for a long time, and you've taught me how to be a good leader. A lot of the things that we're talking about today, and so there's your commercial. But I'm not just saying that because you're up here. And I have the luxury of having a couple friends that are close by, and one of my dearest friends, one of my best friends in the whole world, is Todd Graves, the founder of Raising Cane's, and he built his organization out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So it helps that we live 5 miles apart, and just seeing what he's probably about 10 years ahead of me. But that's, you talk about sticking to your values and sticking about one love, right? There's tons of people throughout the last, 26 years that he's been open that say, I can't believe you don't have chicken on the bone, and, you don't have grilled chicken, and you don't have a salad here, like you'll never make it. Yeah, well, 600 and something locations later, and still growing big. AUV's almost $5 million now, but it all goes back to, he knows his product's really good. He's going to stick with that one product, but he spends the majority of his time taking care of it. They call it crew, taking care of their crew, making sure that they're there, making sure that they can be themselves. It's not the way we do it at Walk-Ons because ours is authentic to us. His is just a really relaxed, like, let's go sell some bird, man, and people love it.
That's great. Well, and I know you're very, very close friends in that regard.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of underdog, and I think everyone here can relate to this. Everyone in this room is an underdog of some sort. Somewhere in your life, you were an underdog. Might have been within your family, might have been at school, might have been sports. Not all sports related. So you tapped out to something that is very universal. And you've opened up a lot of restaurants during the pandemic. People don't leave you. I know they don't leave you. Okay, it's the power of the culture. So, in your own sort of reflection, when you finally said, "What am I going to focus on?" What do you spend your day focusing on and thinking about?
Yeah, so as CEO, my main job is to make sure that our purpose, vision, and mission is crystal clear to everyone out there. Because as we grow, that can be diluted, right? And that's the biggest problem with success is success, right? And that's why we're spending the time, effort, and energy. I mean, we've taken our show on the road here for the last 4 months, going meet with every franchise partner, operating partner, KM, EKM in the system, just to talk about, okay, look, make sure we're all on the same page here. This is who we are. This is what we want to be. This is what we aspire to be. And most importantly, this is why we do it. I'm not saying we're the best restaurant company in the world and all, but that's important to us. If it's important to you, you'll make it a priority. And that's what we do. Look, I'm not, once again, I'm not your prototypical CEO. I'm not going to come in and I need to see the numbers and no, that's not, like, I'm going to make sure that our team, are we gelling? Is everyone understand? Are we making that decision because of those three things over there, our purpose, vision, and mission? If it's not, it dictates every decision that we make if everything is aligned. And so for me, that's what I do. Of course, I'm going on real estate trips and come speak at a few conferences and things like that. But I mean, each and every day, I'm there making sure, all right, do we have the best team in it? As TJ talked about it this morning. Or there's some bad weeds we need to pick? Hopefully not, but if there is, let's talk about it. Once again, we don't hide from it. Let's go get in front of it. And then the ones that are coming in. And now, as we're growing at a pretty rapid pace, it's putting system, because you can have the best culture in the world, but you also have to have a system behind it to make sure that you can scale it. And so for us right now, it's making sure that we're putting the systems in place for every new team member, every new franchisee that becomes a part of our system, that they can hear the why and the purpose day one. It can't be, oh man, look, you're a new team member. And that's, some of the problems that we're having in the staffing world right now. People hired for the need, not the vision. Oh, I need a Tuesday lunch server versus I need the right walk-ons person. And if you can work on Tuesday at lunch, that's the way we're going to make it. People get lost, the need versus the vision. And so for us, if we're doing that and then having that orientation and telling them the why before you tell them what to do. If there's anything I can say out there, especially when you're talking labor problems right now, if they come in and from day one they understand that story that I just talked about, why we want to do things. And oh, by the way, here's your apron. This is what we do. This is how we cook the burger. This is how we cook the pasta. That's down the road. That's the X and O's. We understand we have to teach the X and O's, but if you start with the what before you tell them why you're really doing it and where we came from, you've lost them. You've lost them. So it's important to us, and that's what, once again, if it's important to you, you'll invest in it and make it a priority. If it's not, you can't just say, I need better culture, but you don't do a damn thing about it.
And so I'd say that one of the things that Brandon has done, along with his team, of course, is you could tell this is a team. He does not stand there and say, I did this, I did that. It's really a team effort. And everyone, the pride they have in it is on that first day, and I said this to Brandon and Scott years ago, your measure of your culture is going to be the newest employee you just hired being able to tell you what's going on with this organization and why. And he took it to heart, and they do that, okay? Because the first day someone's on a job is the most important day. That's the day you establish the relationship, that you make it differently. You don't come after the fact. Now, by the way, if you haven't done a lot of stuff that Brandon's talking about, if anyone's taking notes saying, oh shit, I might try that idea, it's okay to go back and say, I own this. I have not done my job as your leader, and I want to change that. So let me hear from you, what you think we can do to be better. I have some ideas. I know you have great ideas. Let's together decide how we're going to make this company what it is. And that's what the kind of inclusive culture they have in that regard. So as you go forward now, you've got 200 stores in development. Restaurants. Thank you.
Vocabulary is big. Vocabulary is big. If you hear some of the best coaches in the world that's ever coached any team, vocabulary is big, and that's something that we changed as well. I mean, we don't call them employees. There's no employee in our organization. They're teammates. Just because, hey, man, I don't employ you. No, I'm working here with you. We're going to be a team. We don't have customers. We have guests. We don't have stores. Stores is very transactional. We have restaurants. Be more than a restaurant. These are key to us. And look, it's something that's taken time, but we call each other out. And once again, that's the type of.
I'll give you $20 later.
Yeah.
So you have 200 restaurants in development.
Correct.
What's the growth? Is it going to go across the Sun Belt? Is it going to go north? What are you planning to do?
Yeah. So I mean, look, there's no set number of restaurants. There's no set geographical area that we got to be at. Right now, our sweet spot is kind of Texas, throughout the southeast, down to Florida is a huge market for us. We're gonna grow lots of restaurants here. Up into the Carolinas, we're looking in the Midwest, Ohio and Kansas City. We just sold that market. We got our first restaurant going in Las Vegas. We got our first restaurant going in Phoenix area, and so Colorado. We'd love to keep making our circle bigger just for brand recognition and things like that. But it goes back to if we have a franchise partner that clearly aligns with us and our values, we'll make it work.
So you've also built in small towns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been part of your strategy.
Yeah.
You're not just going to big metro areas.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, actually, we play really well in tertiary markets. Honestly, that's kind of where we want to be now. And I'm not saying really, really small markets, but that, 60 to 150,000 population. We just opened in Lakeland, Florida. Our best opening we've ever had. Kudos to our team here. But, it's a market like, what is that, 100,000 plus in a market like that. And so we love those markets. We feel like we can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Are you willing to share volumes?
Yeah. So we're trending right now, $5.2 million AUVs this year. And we're 75% food. We're not a bar. We have a bar, but people come in to eat, and oh, by the way, they can drink and they can see 80 TVs and 50 beers on tap. Once again, we broke the mold of the sports bar world.
Right.
It's not just, oh, come and watch a game. And that was through the pandemic. Even, no sports are going on. We were still doing 80-90% of sales because of our cuisine.
Right. Well, I'd have to share another story. There was a big discussion when I was there once in the office about the uniforms, because when I first met Brandon, there was, if you called the term restaurants for Twin Peaks and Hooters, stuff like that, he goes, I don't want to be that. That's not who we are. And I want to make sure that the uniforms we give these girls to wear are appropriate for them, for where they feel comfortable wearing them. And it wasn't about, are you skinny enough to fit into this? It was, we are going to adjust our uniforms to fit your body because we celebrate everybody. Yeah. And that's a big part of the culture as well.
It goes back, once again, if you have your why, we have our company promise. That's our promise. It's belonging for all. And so if we just got a little bitty outfit that only females can wear, then we're not living up to our promise. And so if you do these things, all your decisions become very, very easy, because you're just sitting there saying, okay, well, yes, of course that's our promise. We have to have male servers. We have to have uniforms that fit all body types. And we didn't want to be in that restaurant category, but it goes back to making sure you clearly define who you are.
So when I met you, you were single.
Yeah.
And then you got wise, and you married up.
Yeah,
Mackenzie,
big time.
And you rapidly
my coverage,
created a small team now. You got 3 little ones.
I do.
How did you becoming a father change your view of the business, or did it?
Well, 100%. I mean, I think anyone out here that has kids, your perspective gets a little bit different. I got a 4, a 3, and a 10-month-old now, and it's different because it goes back to the tough love, right? And how we live in our walk-on's way, and how I take care and treat my kids. And I heard Dabo Sweeney talk, who's Dabo actually is, he's one of our franchisees now. He's going to be doing the Carolinas up there. He doesn't call it tough love. He calls it love tough. And it goes back to, because you've seen some of his players come off the sideline when they may have made a mistake before. And he can grab them by the helmet, and he doesn't cuss, but he can jump their tail, right? Because at the end of the day, they know that he loves them. And so it's the same way we live in our walk-ons world, but it's with our kids as well. And that's kind of what I related to. Like, at the end of the day, my 4-year-old, if she's doing something bad, like, I'm going to correct her because I want her to learn, but she knows I love her, right? And so it's such a great correlation between the way you raise your children and the way you conduct your business as well.
That's fantastic. I'm going to allow the audience to ask any questions you may have before we sort of wrap up our session, because I could be up here for hours. I mean, we've spent plenty of time together, and hopefully you've enjoyed this conversation to get an understanding here. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask Brandon?
I think they're ready for the conference to be over.
I think so. All right. Well, then let me do this. Let me invite Carol Dover up on stage so that she can help us complete this. Brandon, brother?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Stay here. Stay here. Good. Got some housekeeping to take care of.
That was amazing. And here's the good news. It was videoed, because I found myself, being pulled away and talking, and I picked up enough pieces to know that I can't wait to get in a quiet space and hear this again, because it was so amazing. How about another round of applause for them? So I don't know if we have Brandon, who was the walk-on at LSU, but I'm going to take another personal privilege here for a second and talk about somebody who was a walk-on at Indiana University. And some of you might not know this, but Dan Murphy, come up here, buddy. Come here, bud. So did I hear him say that sometimes the underdog is the most valuable people that you can hire? I won't get into all the weeds of when I first met Dan, but I will tell you the quick, short, and funny, because I truly could not stand this guy, and I didn't even know who he was. But the real short story is my husband and I, we get a boat. I'm working for the governor and the administration. I never get to take a day off. I'm so excited. On Saturday, we're going to take our brand new boat out for the first time. And this is how old I am. We literally had red phones back then. And I'm sitting at my desk Friday afternoon. I'm like, oh, can't wait. I'm going to go get on the boat. And the red phone goes, which means it's either the governor or the secretary. Picked it up. Yes, sir. Tomorrow morning, need you to be in the office. It's going to be a young man. He's going to walk in your office. I don't know what he likes to do. Just find something. Give him a job. I'm like, well, what time, sir? I don't know. Just be here in the morning. So I'm like, I can't believe this. No boating trip. So I sit there. In walks this kid. And and he's still young. This was 33 years ago. That's how long we've worked together. And I don't like him instantly. So I decide to give him the food code. Probably the worst job you can think of is the Florida food code. And I said, here, learn it. You're going to be a trainer. Show up to work on Monday. And again, I don't like you. But here was the catch. The red phone. Oh, by the way, he's dating my daughter. So...
That's
so
too much information.
that's TMI, but Mariah knows the story. So that was when I hired, and then it was 32. It was a long time ago. So that was when I hired Dan, and I'm here to tell you that our journey of 32 years, there is no question in my mind that when I hired somebody, I had no idea then that he would turn out this many years later to be the most valuable player. So there's a surprise for you. So this is a guitar.
No, a car.
Dan, this is for the walk-on at Indiana University, and we hope that you find a place in your office to hang it. So could all of you please just give Dan Murphy a thank you for his years. Hold on, let me get rid of these.
Thank you. I want to say one thing. I've never worked with someone and been more proud to work with someone than Carol Dover. But when I was a walk-on, I was cut after my first year. I was a walk-on league course, so I was a coach. That's how far back it was. But when I hear Brandon tell his story, it resonates. And I think a lot of times when you're the underdog, like you mentioned, gives you a lot of courage to go out there. And though I got cut, it set an example that if I wanted something bad enough, I'd go after it. And it's paid off all these years. And I want to thank everybody for coming. This has been one of the best Marketing Operations Summit. I want to thank my team, Ashley, Nick, all you out there for this great conference. Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
So I was at the bell. So I want to, again, thank our chairman of the board, Jim Shirley, the volunteer job that he has. I think the chairman is still in the room. It's hard to see. But Mr. Chairman, if you're here, will you please still stand up and be, thank you. Chef Jim Shirley will be hosting our next board meeting in November at the Henderson Beach in Destin. If you haven't ever been there, it's fantastic. So we look forward to that. Again, I want to help all of you who put this fantastic event together, all of our speakers, our panelists, our sponsors. I'd also like to give a very special thank you and a big shout out to our Sight and Sound production team in the back. They have been amazing. And you know, these events, the good news is I'm preaching to the choir here because all of you are in the hospitality business. You know that things like this don't just happen when you flip a switch, right? I mean, Heiko's shaking his head. You know, you put on an event, there's 1,000 levels of detail that you have to put up with. But without the team here at Seminole Hard Rock, if you all please would come forward and properly appreciated. We just want to thank all of you for showing up to work. If everybody had that feeling, we wouldn't have the labor issue we have. Come on forward. Come on, Tatiana. And Tatiana, the team leader, has just been amazing. Thank you all. Again, Seminole Hard Rock is incredibly fortunate. You all got to hear from Bo Guidry yesterday to have such an amazing team. Thank you for what you've done to help our conference be the best ever. Thank you. And with that, I just want to again thank all of you. I've heard so many wonderful accolades about this conference. Of course, it didn't hurt any to have the kickoff with our great governor and some of you to be able to see and hear from a man that we work with on a regular basis and know why we appreciate every hour he has spent to help keep you open and keep our employees working. But outside of the governor, we've had panelists that are just, it's been amazing. The team's done an amazing job. Thank you to the staff. But most of all, thank you to all of you for taking time out of your schedule when we know that you have labor issues and a lot of things that you could have been doing the last 48 hours to take the time to come up here. So again, we hope to see you next year at this conference. And with that, we will conclude. Thank you.